Cue, start.
Are you watching NewsX? My name is Vineet Malhotra and welcome to this special show in association with the Business World. Well, a lot of events have taken place in the last 6 months. 2020 is a year that we are never going to forget. Perhaps the world is never going to forget, but there are certain aspects of this year which needs to be discussed. They need some attention. One of them is the economy and how to revive the economy. Is something which has been on the mind of not only the government, but also, the businesses at large in the country. They are worried. Some of them are positive that once COVID-19 does settle down, does subside, things are going to improve. People will be back, jobs will restore, liquidity will be back in the market. Demand is also, in fact, going to take off. But what do the business minds and the people who, in fact, hold relevance in their respective fields concerning commerce have is what we're going to discuss on this particular show. And let me introduce them one by one. Mr. Roshan Abbas, Managing Director of Encompass, is here with us. Mr. Naveen Kundu, Managing Director of Ebix Cash, is also on the program with us. Gentlemen, thank you for joining. Mr. Samarth Agarwal, co-founder and CEO of maxwholesale.com, also joins us on the broadcast. Mr. K. Ajay Kumar, Managing Director of Devlok, is also a part of this panel. Ms. Swati Nanda Vadvani, founder and director of Pups and Cuts, director, Hiranaya Herbals Private Limited, is also on the program with us. Ms. Pooja Verma, CEO of Whiskers Marketing Private Limited, also joins us on this very important debate. And last but not the least, Dr. Anurag Batra, my partner in crime, the co-anchor of this show, chairman and editor-in-chief of Business World and Exchange for Media Group, also joins us on this very relevant topic. Roshan, I'll come to you first. All right. The lockdown is going to open up tomorrow and it's called Unlocking India 2.0. But a part of everyone's psyche and mentality is how do you unlock the economy? Because that also finds itself confiscated under the spell or under, let me not use that word spell, under the nuisance of COVID-19. The government has taken some steps. The finance minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, came out and gave some impetus. She did galvanize the economy, which has to deal with the contingent liability of MSMEs in taking loans and repaying. What do you think is going to work for India? Because right now, there is trouble in the market. Right now, nothing is open, there is no demand, and even if there was demand, it is not backed by a sentiment, and that sentiment will only come, Roshan, when there is a cure for COVID.
No, absolutely. And if you look at it, the business that we are in, which is the events and entertainment business, the entire business is built on the ability for people to socialize. Now, how do you bring about a business that is about socializing in the world of social distancing? Today, there are rules as strange as, and I can understand where the government comes from, saying you can do a wedding with 50 people. Now, to anybody who's been to a wedding in India, you understand that that doesn't make sense. If you look at anything that happens from a corporate event to a brand activation, to a wedding, to a sports event, none of these seem to be possible. And what we cannot seem to understand is how do we actually manage to get a slightly larger number of people, because if a flight can take them, logically what many of my friends in the event management industry ask me is, why can't we? We understand safety, we understand protocol, and therefore in the first 2-3 months we had a seismic hit of the organized sector to the tune of about say 5,000-6,000 crores. But the cascading effect is that for every event there is a venue, there is lights, there is sound, there is hospitality, there is travel, there is tourism. So the ecosystem is over 100,000 crores. And I just being, a patient in an ICU that's not being able to come out because we are trying very hard to bring some hope. But digital events are not cutting it. Costs are down. Everyone is losing jobs. Retrenchments are happening.
And Roshan, if I may interject, please. The events industry is what they call in medical language rigor mortis. It's dead.
Absolutely. And what happens is that digital events on a screen are not cutting it, because while meetings and learning is happening like this, entertainment is not possible. You will know that the value of a hug, the value of laughing with people, the value of holding a hand, we are human beings. We thrive on those connections. And I also believe that there's another aspect that is not being, all around you. When you're locked up at some stage, there is this feeling of being cooped up. It's having mental effects. It's having depression as a side effect. And I've been actually at the receiving end of many conversations with people saying just that.
Okay, Roshan, you're also the president of EMA, the Events Industry Association. Now, what is the representation you're making to the government to be able to get the right kind of framework and support from the government?
So I think two representations have been made by our members already to Shri Nitin Gadkari and to Nirmala Sitharaman. We have been asking for reduction in GST. We've been asking, we've got that sin tax of 28% or whatever placed on some things that we do. We need to dramatically look at this. While I find the loans to be a short-term cure, but why not be able to create some government opportunities? There is a huge opportunity, Anurag, for us right now to go and educate the nation on saying how can they do things safely. Today I read a news piece which said we are the second largest supplier of PPE suits to the world. Now, why can we not have exhibitions that are actually going to make people know we can be COVID safe? Here are products, here are PPE suits, here are innovations that are being done. And this is what events are great at. We are great at being able to do this. So I really feel that we need to be heard loud and clear in those places to say, we're only asking for you to extend a hand in support. Give us some breaks. This industry has never been given a break, Anurag. And I don't know why, because the number of people we directly employ is about 400,000. Indirectly, that number runs into millions. And people somehow need to understand that is the size and scale of the impact if events do not happen.
Sure. Roshan, we'll come back to you. At this point, let us bring in Naveen Kundu. Naveen, you share your fate, so to say, with Roshan in the sense that the travel and hospitality and the Forex, business that you had, you're the CEO of Ebix Cash and Holidays, has been totally decimated. Tell us, the government has left the travel industry also out of the package. What do you have to say to the economic stimulus, and when do you see the travel and tourism sector rebounding back? Naveen Kundu?
Hi. So Anurag, look, I don't really feel that the government has really left us completely, because we are a large part of the travel industry is a part of MSME industry. And they provided a reasonable stimulus to the MSME industry in terms of loans and, other moratoriums. So I wouldn't fully agree that the government has left us out. Yes, the government has to hear us a little more clearly. That has not happened, as Roshan said, that, the government needs to work on providing certain soaps, for example, to stimulate demand. First and foremost, there has to be a certification program, because travel is an experience. And for the experience, people will have to feel safe, and they have to understand that we are risk averse. So what we need to do is, I've been saying this on various forums, that the government needs to have, the Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Health needs to have a stipulated standard certification program for the supply chain, that's hotels, airlines, and transport, so that people feel safe to travel, to come out. Currently, people are living in fear. Everybody is inside. They want to, and especially with the message that we got today, that we still need to be very, very careful about COVID, and COVID is far from getting over. I know it'll get over one day, but to stimulate demand, first the supply chain has to be in place. We don't have a supply chain in place. Very few hotels have opened up. There are so many containment zones where there are hotels. So there is no supply chain as yet. International flights haven't opened up. And once the supply chain comes in, or a certification program comes in, people will gradually feel safe and start coming out. And that is when the economic process will start. Having said that, I think the government needs to do a bit more in terms of giving us tax amendments, so that, at least whatever is happening in terms of people spending, they will be able to freely, at least think of spending freely, coming out and saying, okay, now this package cost was X and now it's Y. The airfare is lower. The fare for the pricing for the petrol and diesel is lower. So some tax amendments are required, if not a direct stimulus to the industry, because I don't expect any direct stimulus to tourism industry as of now. It hasn't happened in the past, not that I know of. So I feel that, some tax soaps and certain programs where a client feels safe to come out and travel is required. digitally, as Roshan said, we've tried it out. Digitally, it's not working out. People want experience. Well, we want an experience. We want to share a stage. We want an experience. So for that, we need to the government needs to create a provision for it, and we need to then go and tell people like these are the things available to you. Come and experience this.
We'll come back to you, Naveen, on how to get the experiential economy back. But Swati, you're an entrepreneur and you operate a pet spa, right? And you opened it right before the
lockdown. Yes.
And you're in Mumbai, which makes it even tougher. Tell us what's been your response to the economic stimulus, and where do you see the economy going?
So when I started the business, I was quite hopeful that it will pick up, and it did start picking up. And suddenly, I see this lockdown, and it did put me off. And that's when I realized that this is a challenge which is going to be there for quite a while, and it's going to be a prolonged period because, as rightly mentioned, that there is a lot of fear which has set into people, and even if it's not going to affect them, the fear is holding them back from coming to the place. What I created was an experience place. Again, it's a place where people come in with their pets. However, I did have more sales during the lockdown rather than the usual days. So it sort of benefited me, and it's benefited my people and my sales guys. But yes, I mean, it is affecting the economy, and to uplift this scenario, we are going to have a sort of a reform where we get people to tell them that it's really not so bad as much as it seems. And yes, sustaining in Mumbai, it is a challenge. But because the pet industry is growing at large now, what the pet spa falls under is right now the personal care services. So again, it becomes my duty to give a good service to people who are able to come to the spa and make sure their pets are going back happy, because after all, these pets who go back home to their owners who are locked up in the house due to the lockdown become their stress busters. So I think, like I said, that I did have I managed to reach my break even despite the lockdown. And it's a relatively new industry which is mushrooming and growing right now.
Swati, do you think that the stimulus package or the program that was announced by the government had anything for businesses like yours?
Yes. Come again? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did it have anything for businesses such as yours in terms of help?
Not really. I don't think it really has anything directly for a business like mine. I'm going to have to really jump up and get some sort of a stimulus or a reform for my business. But frankly speaking, I think that none of the only thing that worries me is GST, because of the GST, it will affect me the moment I apply for one. Yes, and people are going to hold back and think, because even in this industry, what happens is there are people who are genuine pet lovers and who also opt to have pets as children. And I'm one of them. And there are people who have pets as, sorry, but it becomes more like a luxury or status symbol for them. So when we have various minds and various kinds of people coming into us. So GST is something that sort of worries me, because if there is some sort of a placement of that, which I believe should and could happen.
Right.
The
restructuring of GST is in fact been on the minds of a lot of people. Even the government has said time and again that it is something that will happen eventually. Samarth Agarwal, your opening remarks about the stimulus package. Where do we find ourselves? What is this predicament about, and how soon will it be over?
So yeah, I mean, see, first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to say that the government, in my view, is doing a commendable job. I mean, see, we need to be cognizant of a few things, that our country is equal to probably 20, 25, 30 countries put together. And there is one government taking care of all of that. This is an unprecedented pandemic. We are looking at something that happens once in 100, 150, 200 years. There is no action replay here. There is no retake. So there is a lot of chaos that one government, centrally is taking care of with the help of a lot of local governments. And one thing that is we are not getting to hear from different parts of the country is that dal is very expensive, rice is very expensive, wheat flour is very, I'm not able to afford wheat flour, I'm not able to afford. So the government, I think, has been able to do a very good job in making sure that the basic amenities, the essentials, are available in every nook and corner of our country, which is, yes, I understand people have all sorts of problems. Some people are not able to go out for entertainment. Some people, they're not able to take care of their pets. Some people are not able to, convert foreign currency. I understand that. But then there are people who have to worry about how will they pay their rent the next month, or where will the atta dal come from for the house, and we have to be, appreciative of the fact that this is a country where majority of people have those existential problems. And what should the government be prioritizing? We need to ask ourselves that. And is there a section of society which is not being taken care of in terms of availability of food, availability of basic things, being able to keep themselves clean, being able to, go to have a night's sleep with some food in their stomach? And that's where I see that the government has done a very good operational job. This is not just about making policy, it's about execution. And execution at a scale, we are talking about 1/5 of the planet here, right? And execution at that level, being able to make, these small things, essential things reach each and every locality of our country, each and every corner of our country, is commendable. And that's where, our customers, which are the Kirana stores, have been adding a lot of value over the last 3 months. They have not been sitting at home trying to safeguard themselves from a virus. They have been out there selling masks to people, selling sanitizers to people while using it themselves. And I think the government has done a commendable job in supporting them by keeping the supplies open, by enabling the truck drivers to run their trucks, by keeping, by identifying who should get the passes, who should not get the passes, are they being misused, or are the right people getting the passes, making quick decisions. There is no dearth of speed here in terms of making the right decisions. I think our government took very tough decisions early on when a lot of very developed countries were delayed in making those tough decisions.
So, Samarth, let's come back to the debate between lives and livelihood. Early, there shouldn't have been any debate. Lives matter, and so does livelihood. So it's not an either. But the fact is, the more you have lockdown, the more there is a fear factor. A lot of businesses stay locked in. Even if the businesses open up, the demand doesn't come back, right? So I think we'll address that in a while. At this point, let's go to Pooja. Pooja, you're a young entrepreneur, and in lots of sectors, revenues have come down to close to zero, if not zero. You also some of you have not been able to, I'm using you as a representative of a class of entrepreneurs, not been able to raise capital, right? So what do you have to say to the economic stimulus? And do you think there is a real worry that in 60 to 90 days, a lot of startups will fold up?
Right. Absolutely, Anurag sir. So I do hear a lot of things about events, exhibitions, travel, spa, clothing businesses, and so many others. And there are a bunch of startups. When I say startups, anyone who's 5 to 10 years old, let's say, who might falter in these times. But I think I have been listening to all the discussion, but my input here will be that, as entrepreneurs, and most of us in the discussion today are at senior positions, I think this is also the time to think on how to pivot. So let's say, for example, and I'm only taking it for example purpose, let's say it was we do work with so as a digital agency, we work with almost all industries, across brands, across sizes of companies. But let's say we were talking about a luxury clothing wear, okay, where each lehenga would be, let's say, 5 lakh plus. And if this is the time where unanimously the society is thinking that maybe it's something that we could live without, then maybe this is time for entrepreneurs to think what next. So if this is a postcard to telephone kind of a transition that is happening with the market, then entrepreneurs will have to take the lead and look at, foresee some of the problems and try solving those, rather than trying to see how government can help us maybe, or see if the market is not ready, the government anyways cannot do much. But this is the time to actually rebuild and rethink on what next. And like, for example, we are seeing a lot of drones now, videos have started coming in where drones are doing deliveries into balconies of apartments, right? So how a lot of courier companies have taken so many online companies have actually moved to grocery deliveries. Like it is something something that they weren't doing, and they've gotten into that. So what is the need right now, and can we transition no matter what business we were into? But can we solve some of the problems now? That's what will take us forward. In terms of will some businesses close down or not, they will. And in fact, they have. So from a client base, we're across 17 industries now. From our client base itself, there are so many who have actually stopped their work or stopped operations, so to say. But there are a huge bunch who have doubled up on their digital spends and are trying new ways of acquiring those same customers through online. So there is no doubt digital will lead it. But we need to rethink about the product or service that we're bringing to the market.
Right.
And having said that, if we have to bring the economy back, of course, entrepreneurs is the way to do it. But if we have to bring the economy back, SMBs is the way to go. So
Absolutely. You know, Ketan Devan, co-founder and CEO of Talo City, is also with us. Ketan, you know, the stimulus package was quite heavy on providing solace and respite to the MSMEs, but yet, you know, the irony is that is the segment, that is the sector that finds itself stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea.
You will have to unmute yourself, Ketan.
Thank you, Anurag. Thank you, Vineet, and wonderful to hear all of you. Roshan, it's a pleasure. I've always heard you on radio, and it's a pleasure to sit next to you. So, guys, have we ever played Darkroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember as kids we used to play Darkroom?
Yeah.
But the Darkroom in my house was a very different game versus Darkroom in your house or from one room to another. I think last 3 months, whatever is happening, it's a dark room play, and every day is a new dark room. So what the government has done is phenomenal, except for one thing. Everything is phenomenal. You can't expect more. And rightly, Pooja, governments are not here for business; they are here for governance. So absolutely, I agree. I won't beat that further. Only one thing, which was the migrant workforce, which was in cities, should have been transported back much earlier than what they did. It was a pain in my chest when I was eating food, because I knew there was someone who was walking with a 4 people or a 5 people family back to Bihar or to Jharkhand or to some other place. It was a pain. That is the only mistake of the government in terms of taking a decision too late. Otherwise, I think pretty much it is clean. Second bit, you know, we need to look at embracing technology. Look at what we are doing right now. What a wonderful meeting. I'm in a t-shirt and I'm in shorts, and I'm sitting in a conference on television. That's how I work every day. I'm in t-shirt and shorts all day. So we need to reinvent ourselves with the embracing of technology. So how will that happen? If you see, work from home has become a reality, which will mean what? Now, not only I have a boss at home, but I have a boss who can make sure that at 7 o'clock in the evening, I switch off. So my boss at work can't supersede my boss at home. So what will happen? Ball will start dropping after 7 o'clock. Technology will start getting embraced in multiple ways. So the impact of technology in a country like ours is huge. You know, we have been proud of the fact that let's go out there and put in the hard work, put in the sweat. It's not required anymore. The macroeconomics have changed. So from that standpoint, I think as entrepreneurs in each one of our businesses, we have to look at what we need to turn around to, you know, kind of start making sure it makes business sense. And trust me, it will make business sense. We just have to think deep rather than saying, you know, no, the rules of the game have changed and I still want to play with the old rules. Not possible. I think that will be my opening remarks.
Okay, what we're going to do at this point in time is obviously the debate has just started. The ideas, the influx of these wonderful ideas are just starting up. We'll take a short break on this note, but there's lots more to discuss on the other side. So we got opening remarks from all of our panelists, and Anurag, you were mentioning right during the break that how to get credit, how to get liquidity, and how to start up demand is going to be the next challenge. So let's ask everyone here that how can it be done? How can it be achieved? Roshan, let's start by you.
How to bring back the demand?
No, absolutely. I think, see, the important thing right now is to figure out some way to bring about normalcy. I know for a fact that a very senior colleague in the event industry here in Bombay, Rahul Gomes, was working to create a large hospital for the government, right? Because there are needs. We must understand that even our healthcare sector is stressed. Across the world, it's been stressed. Nobody ever thought of a pandemic of this nature. But we need to, go on to rapid testing. We need to find new ways of safety, because these are simple ways of building infrastructure. And again, I'm repeatedly saying it's not a one-way street. We can help do these things. There is another thing. When you talk about liquidity, many of us have money stuck in the event industry. For a fact, I can tell you that I was doing a survey with all our members, and most of them said if even our money that is locked up with clients and with the government in many cases is just released, we will be able to release that down the line and be able to support people definitely for the next 3 to 6 months. Now, at least that can be done. The fact of saying, yes, we've got things happening on the internet, and I totally appreciate the fact that it can happen, but folk artists have been reaching out, and these are not privileged artists, because I think, one of the people was trying to somewhere make a distinction between people of privilege and people who require basic things. No, I'm talking of puppeteers, I'm talking of folk artists, I'm talking of people who during summer used to travel from village to village doing harvest songs, because you must understand, while it appears that a lot of this is non-essential, actually it is very essential. And if you were just to be able to clear the locked up money, there would be liquidity in the market. Now, that is one thing which can definitely be done. If there was a tax break, I don't know whether these things are possible, but if there was, at least again, a person can turn and say, let's quickly distribute whatever we have available amongst people. I think collaboration is the way to go. I think the government needs to engage with us. They will have a lot of issues that we need to be sensitized to, but we will have a lot of solutions they need to be sensitized to. Again, I'm saying religion is such a big thing in our country. We know how important it is. I mean, everyone has faith and praise. Even places of worship are closed, and I can understand, because they are places where people gather in large crowds. Now, if we build SOPs and protocols, which we have as an industry been building, at least these things can be taken care of. SOPs and protocols that can be standardized across the country for airports, for hospitals, for other places, even just the external part. I don't know what is to be done inside a hospital, but when colleagues of mine can bring suppliers from across the country to create a makeshift hospital, understand we're in the business of creating a lot of makeshift venues. There is so much that can be done, but it needs to be a two-way street. There has to be more samvad. There needs to be a lot more sambandh. And that is the heart of this government. So I am not at any point saying that they are not doing things, but unfortunately, a pandemic requires extraordinary measures, and we need to take those extraordinary measures together.
I mean, you heard Roshan say what can be done and what are the alternate ways to create demand, so to say, redeploy energy and resources to create temporary hospitals, because, you make temporary venues, so, the same skills can be. Now, tell us, travel tech has become big, but, till travel starts, travel tech doesn't come into play. So tell us, how do you see the next 6 months in the travel industry? Do you see demand coming back to 10%, 20%? I know there are variables like how long it lasts, when will the, vaccine come, but broadly, what are the trends you see going forward?
So a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to address Ketan and say that, look, while I agree that, he is enjoying his meetings and shorts and t-shirts in his dark room, and there's a dark room every day, he will some point of time have to come out of this dark room and enjoy travel and experience. He can't be forever locked into a dark room and keep doing these meetings. And his boss at home will compel him to do it, and his boss at office will also compel himself to go out one day. So therefore, it's very important that experience plays an important role. And what we need to understand is that we need liquidity. For liquidity, and the liquidity will help us get people back on roll. So you have to understand, first and foremost, if people like Ketan and Roshan have to travel and they need us in the business, we need to bring our people back on rolls. A lot of travel industries today on furloughs. If you don't keep the people alive, how do we know that those people will not fall into the lower poverty lines in the next 5 to 6 months. It's very important that all of us have to first think, what about the people of the industries? They are a large part of the population of this country. We need to address them before we address liquidity or taxation. So my point is that, and I'll come to your question, but I'm trying to say that to get travel back, we need to get people back so that they can extend service. Travel is a service. I mean, travel tech plays a very important role, but behind technology is the people who actually design those packages, load them, help people book those packages, airline tickets, get that experience. It's important at this stage that we raise liquidity. And for example, Roshan gave an example that his liquidity is stuck with government and a lot of clients. Now our liquidity as travel companies is stuck in the credit share of airlines. Now airlines are saying, look, we don't have liquidity. How do we provide you refunds? There are crores and crores of money that is actually lying as credit share in the airline. Now we've been going back and forth. We've had several meetings with the airline. Travel Agents Association of India is now even thinking of going up to Supreme Court and saying, look, we need to resolve this matter. There are hundreds and hundreds of crores of various large and small travel agencies which are stuck in credit share. And if I'm not getting money from an airline which he has kept in credit share, I can't give it to a small little partner. So you have to understand that. And the ecosystem gets disturbed.
So Naveen, I just on that point, I think it's a very valid point. I think you totally feel on how travel and other hospitality companies are going through. But here there are two options. One is that we can get liquidity done. We could get the government to probably pump in some money, and lives will get better, for laws will get over. The other is that what if? It's just a what if question. What if the demand, so to say, for travel from a business perspective, which can be replaced by work from home meetings, etc. Maybe people going back from to their hometowns, or medical travel, those things cannot be gotten rid of. But what if the demand now might go down because people have learned how to do it without spending money or time, and being able to do certain things from home? In that scenario, are we ready to accept that as a changing environment? And now can we do something so that we take business decisions basis that? Now, of course, people will get off the rolls. They might join some other companies. Maybe some digital app companies will definitely, after yesterday's announcement, a lot of new Indian apps are going to get created as a replacement of TikTok and CamScan. So a lot of new employment will also be generated. But let's say in this travel industry, or events and exhibitions also, for example, or anything which we are so sure that it has to be outside of your house, what if those requirements have kind of gone down, and maybe not just by 5-10%, but substantially? So are we then consciously ready to take those business decisions so that we can now reduce our losses? Obviously, losses are going to be there, but can we reduce those? Yeah.
And talk up to Pooja's.
Let me reply to Pooja. There is going to be definitely a behavioral change in the business that we all know, because nobody was expecting the pandemic of this scale, and now there is a behavioral change, but it's temporary. I can tell you, it's all temporary. How much ever we may say that we'll do this digitally, we'll work from home, we'll do this. Work from home, eventually we'll have its own problems with people. A lot of people they already want to get out of their homes and want to go to their offices, want to meet their colleagues, want to have friends. Work from home is not going to be a reality for a long time. I can tell you that much. Much to the fact that a lot of people feel that it's a big cost reduction measure, but that's temporary. That's temporary. So yes, temporarily, we are ready to embrace the new normal. But as I said, it's temporary. Travel is going to come back very soon. Experiential industry, event industry is going to bounce back sooner than you anticipate. And it will actually, there'll be a lot of, I can tell you, I'm sure we'll get the vaccine very soon. The moment the vaccine is out, there'll be revenge buying. The demand will be out of the roof. I can tell you that much, because I can see how people are now locked up and they're sick of the locks. They're sick of sitting inside. We already know, and today we heard the Prime Minister saying that, look, in the first phase of lockdown opening, a lot of people behaved erratically and the cases went up. Now we are in unlock 2. So people don't want to be indoor. We are not in the same 1918 kind of century where the availability of entertainment, social gatherings, and other aspects were not there. Today, there is just about everything. People are waiting for the bars to open. Yes, as long as we define SOPs, as long as there are safety measures in place, and those are defined. Not, I cannot have my safety measure and you cannot have your safety measure. There have to be standard safety measures which have to be displayed, saying that these are SOPs we are following. Once the client feels safe that, okay, everybody is following these SOPs, demand will slowly come up. Liquidity will therefore come in. But as I said, it's all temporary. It's not permanent.
Okay. Right. Ketan?
I love your passion and for the travel tourism industry, but let's face the facts. The fact is, look at our business. We are in the hiring and assessment space. We were hiring more than about 10, 12,000 people across 25 different countries pretty much every month. Okay. So that's about 500-700 people hired every single day. Now that's gone to single digit or maybe very near double digit on some lucky days. Okay. That's a reality. It's in the face. So when things like these will happen, they will bring about unprecedented change, which is not coming back to its normal position ever. It's never coming. Whether I like it or don't like it, it's going to be like this. So temporary workforce, stipends, interns, people doubling up for each other, it's going to become the new reality. Look at the 400 million people who are employed in India and how many in the formal and the informal sector. All our people. We had offices in Gurgaon, Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune, Manila, Hyderabad. Everyone is in their hometown. And we said, please exit your rentals because we're not going to call you back sooner. The vaccine's not going to be out till December 21. And we'll be lucky if it comes then. And then also it's not going to come to us. It's going to come to the privileged few. To us, 2 years more. So that's the reality. We have to face it. So, Pooja's point, pivot.
And Ketan, I'm not as pessimistic as you.
No,
I'm not as pessimistic.
I'm very optimistic. I'm very, very optimistic guy. But what I'm saying is we have to face the reality. The reality is this situation is on till December 21 or March 22. It's not going up. I've worked in vaccine care. We launched a HIV drug for a global pharma. It's not so easy to do clinical trials. People are making these claims because they want to be in that 30 seconds of fame. It's not possible for a vaccine to come out so soon.
Anurag sir, I think just to answer your point, how to, in this scenario, whether this is going to be prolonged or short-lived, how do we exactly generate demand right now so that economy can start moving? I think this is the time when we should just go back to the blackboard and rethink on what is it that people need now in this current scenario. See, next 3 to 6 months, we know no one's moving out of their homes. So whether vaccine comes, doesn't come, people want to be safe, we're saving on rentals, so many things. So can we go back and see what do they need? And there are quite a few things that they still need. So all these new apps that have come out. Yesterday, we got 59 new business ideas, right? So there's so many other things which as entrepreneurs who have already been an entrepreneur before are the ones who can actually take the plunge and jump into something so new and real. So can we, some of us, actually solve some of these problems and take it forward? I think that is going to be the way to generating more.
Let's get Samarth and Swati in at this point. Samarth, how do you bring demand back? It's good to look after the disadvantaged sections of the society, but how do you bring back the demand? Because, when people start losing jobs, people start losing their livelihood, it will have another social impact, which I don't want to talk and scare everyone.
So in my view, see, to bring demand back, we need to bring jobs back, right? There is a direct correlation between consumption and employment. And to bring employment back, we need to celebrate the employer. We need to celebrate giving jobs. We need to give benefits to those who employ more people, So there should be a decreasing, some sort of benefit for people who employ more people, and we need to have reforms in our legal structures as well. I know it's a bit tough to pull that off in a pandemic situation, but I think this is a good stimulating environment for having that debate that are we employer friendly? Can we do something that is, can we fast track something which supports people to be employer friendly, reduce, some sort of legacy issues in our, labor laws that can make it easier for people to not be always on the wrong side of the law while employing people, and not have so many regulations following, and make it easier to hire people, more of them. Maybe it is better to reduce the minimum wages right now to be able to distribute wealth in more people a little bit everywhere instead of increasing minimum wages. Maybe we should relook at minimum wages. Maybe we should bring in new laws for daily wage workers where it becomes easier for somebody to employ people, and that could be at a national level, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, And so that is one reform that I think the government can look at. Yes, the government is stimulating the country by making it easier for people to delay their payments on credit, so that they can put that money back into the economy somehow, consume more. They are giving support to the NBFCs. They are giving support to MSMEs. They have redone the definition of MSMEs itself. That is all great. But I think that needs to be supported with execution, that everyone is getting the same message and there is uniformity everyone is taking action in the same direction. All governments at all levels, not just the center, but it should be percolated well down to the state level, and from the state level down to the the district level. So that kind of communication, I think this.
Samarth, there is also a saying in Hindi that "Apna haath Jagannath," and the government in fact wants us to embrace that sentiment too. I'm talking about AATMANIRBHAR. You think that perhaps is a dose which might revive the economy, our over dependence?
Again, the Prime Minister talked about it.
Yeah.
Yesterday's step of banning Chinese apps is in some way.
We've already made the right step in banning these Chinese apps, but Atmanirbharta is a very serious concept.
No, we need
Anurag.
Very empowering concept, and I think this is nothing new to India, right? This is something that India is known from the days of Mahatma Gandhi, right? Like, we have the panchayat system. Which other country has the panchayat system? It's still in existence, and it works. And I think we need to just rekindle that in the business environment as well, where local people, we have to support local innovation. Just like the RPM said, vocal for local, we have to support local innovation, but also celebrate it. We need to identify local heroes and bring them forward. We need to create an environment where, at a local level, risk-taking is supported and rewarded. So that kind of some sort of a financial benefit, it could be attached.
But I also feel the important thing is, you see, most money moves and business moves to the point of least friction. And we need to create frictionless processes. We need to appreciate people when they are coming out with innovation. And again, I'm going back to the same point, saying that, our Honorable Prime Minister said that we are playing the pharmacy to the world. We are today supplying PPE kits to the world. We need to empower indigenous production, and this is the right time to do it. And this is the time to showcase that. When we talked of Make in India, Atmanirbharta और Make in India दोनों साथ में चलते हैं. अगर आपको यही करना है, celebrate these people, because there are enough and more entrepreneurs who have built ground up businesses here, and this is right now the time when they need maybe a little hand holding. हम खुद चल सकते हैं, लेकिन याद रखिए कि गांधी जी के पास भी एक लाठी थी साथ में. वो लाठी तो चाहिए ना, कुछ तो support चाहिए होगा. We need something. We can move forward on our own, but we need that support.
So what Roshan is saying is a framework that eases the way of doing business.
Absolutely.
Come to you.
Which may not be necessarily financial.
Where do we see the economy?
It can be the framework, it can be the approvals, it can be the processes that can be set up to enhance the mechanism of Atmanirbharta.
Naveen, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Frictionless processes. People said rightly that people didn't go to China to manufacture things because of the reason that, they liked the country. No, they liked the efficiency. If you went to Singapore, you could set up something within 24 hours. Exactly. Now, we need to just do these things, and the government is working on it. I think they just need to empower us as entrepreneurs a lot more. That's it.
Swati, I was going to ask you, where do you see the demand in the next 3 to 6 months? Do you see it getting better? Do you see it getting worse?
So in terms of the pet spa business, I would say there is a lot of demand from consumers, and if at all the demand for jobs is going down, then we are also working on something where we are creating a new type of a field. Like, see, personal care services were never something which was a big thing, even till I would say 60s or 50s. It never came out as parlors, mushrooming. It was engineering, it was being a doctor, it was being a teacher, probably, which I was until quite a while back, and I would say a CA. So there has to be an alternative way for it. And talking about Atmanirbharta or being self-reliant, as a business owner today, what I'm thinking of is creating opportunities both for the consumer and for people who are now getting off jobs or who are forced to leave their jobs. So creating job opportunities. How do you do that? So what we were trying and what we are doing is personal care services with doctors on board, because right now sanitation is what we need to have around us. This gives opportunities to the existing doctors, their interns, the students who are studying, veterinary students, of course, which was something which was not addressed to, and jobs in terms of giving training. Like, we give out training to people who come in who are willing to learn something new. I know it is different, it's difficult, because for somebody who's established in an industry has to suddenly take a leap and say कि चलो मैं ये छोड़ के कुछ नया करता हूँ या करती हूँ, is gonna pinch them. But having said that, it doesn't mean you don't try it out. So even with a little baby with me, like my son is 1.5, and I decided to start Hiranya Herbals and start with agriculture, basic agriculture, and the kind of agriculture which requires minimum investment and more profits, which was mushroom cultivation. And it has started to work for me. I've been traveling even during the pandemic and taking the leap. So I'm thinking about to address to my consumers as well, and that comes obviously where I have to think about lowering my prices a little bit. Hence, I said in the beginning, the GST sort of pinches me, because there are a couple of people who don't think about their pets as their own and there are so many who think about pets as their own. But the moment I reduce the prices a bit, I have customers coming in. The more I have customers coming in, I have to give them sanitation, and I have to give them the best of the service, which will in turn, I have already seen people coming in, as I said, during the lockdown for my business, and which will create jobs. And we've already started recruiting people who have started leaving various other jobs. So this is how I have been able to create. Plus, thinking a little differently. See, if there always has to be a plan B. You can't, when you have a plan A and if it doesn't work, you have to have a plan B.
We only have about a minute left onto the show, guys. So let's
get quickly.
I like to
10 seconds to each one of you, and then we wrap up.
I like to tell the panel that, look, 24th of May, government announced domestic airlines to start, and look at the demand now. You know, every airline, though they have reduced their number of flights and schedules, but every airline is running to the full capacity. Hotels have just started opening up, and they're already at 25% occupancies, and some are even running near 50% occupancies. So please understand that businesses are going to come back to normal. All we need to do is, as
we'll have to wrap up now. We'll have to wrap up.
Support and push, and we will sail through.
Roshan, your final word.
10 seconds.
Roshan, you'll have to unmute yourself.
We can't hear you, Roshan.
Sorry, I was saying it's a two-way street. The government will need to come halfway, so will we. Please extend your hand in support and see what Indian entrepreneurs can do.
Okay, Ketan, 5 seconds.
So it's about touchless technologies, and the opportunity is huge. Just look around well.
Yeah, that's a good sentiment. Right, Samarth, 5 seconds to you as well.
Yeah, I think the government is doing a good job. They can improve it by bringing unity and similarity of action between consistency of action between different governments.
Absolutely, and when it comes to any government, Samarth, there's always room for improvement.
Kudos to the government for having this.
Okay, Pooja, 5 seconds to you.
Sure. See, India's humongous population, 34% of those already have internet. So I will say just working towards more digital solutions, and government or the market or the demand, all of that will follow on its own.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this extremely motivating and informative show. All your ideas were brilliant. I hope the government is watching. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us with panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to switch into a short break, folks. We'll be right back.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.